Back to my YouTube channel. I'm Sandra Park. I'm an engineer and a financial coach, and today I'm going to talk about budgeting, why people fail, and how you can succeed. Just like you, I always wondered why I could never do it, even though, I feel like I'm relatively smart and good with numbers. But it's not just about the numbers. It's really deceptively easy, but also hard. Why do people fail at budgeting? One of the main points are not very realistic with their budgets. So when you build this budget, it has to really mirror your real life. It has to account for all your family members. It has to account for their daily expenses that people need to survive every day. So if you're leaving out the gas you put in your car, if you're leaving out some of your fast food expenses, which is fine if you could fit it into your budget. If you're leaving out your coffee shop trips, a bill is part of your budget, but that is not everything in your budget. Reflect all of your spending as you plan for all of your money. So let's be realistic about that. Number two, I find, is people are very reluctant to track their expenses. And I know it sounds very difficult, but now with the aid of apps and all different types of software, it's pretty easy to track your expenses. But it's one thing to make a plan on paper and to have an intention about how much you want to spend and have all these perfect budget categories with amounts. But it's really in the tracking that you see how does your spending actually align with that budget you set out for the month. Another reason why I think a lot of people fail is they expect perfection. People really beat themselves, failing with their budgeting or not tracking expenses or failing to make that money. Tell everyone, every day is a new day, start all over again. Every day is a new chance to start budgeting. Every day is a new chance to start looking at your expenses and to start tracking much better. So don't beat yourself up over it. These are some of the mindset shifts you'll need to be successful with your budgeting. You're gonna have to face the reality of your spending. And that's one of the most enlightening things about doing a budget. And I will say it's not always bad to look at it, because sometimes people fear looking at the budget because they say, oh, I know I actually spend X amount and I think I spend this. Sometimes you actually underspend in a lot of categories that you didn't realize. You always thought you spent this much on gas, but when you actually start tracking it, you're like, no, I actually really only spend this amount of money. So you might be surprised, but you have to actually start doing this budgeting to face the reality of your situation. And like I said, some of it's gonna be better than you think, some of it's gonna be worse than you think. It might all balance out, but you can't get a good foothold on budgeting until you actually know where you're starting from. So everyone needs a baseline of how they're doing, and that's gonna be eye-opening for some people. But it's better than sticking your head in the sand like an ostrich and not having any idea where any of your money is going. Another key mindset shift for a lot of people is you're probably gonna have to stick with budgeting way longer than you thought, within a month or so. But to be honest, on average, it takes about 3 months to master budgeting. So please, give it enough time, stick with it longer. Don't just do it for a day or two or a week or two and feel like you failed and give up on it totally. You probably have to give it longer than you think. Another mindset shift for budgeting is that budgeting is proactive, not reactive. What you're doing when you don't budget is you're looking at how much you spend your bank account balance at the end of the month, reacting negatively to it. Budgeting is trying to get you in that position where you're proactive, where you're looking forward, where you're having a plan for your money, you're deciding where every dollar goes intentionally, you're tracking your expenses, seeing how you align with that budget, and no longer will you be reacting to life in your expenses and your finances. You're planning for your life. These are some practical tips for sticking. And I know this first one, a lot of people might disagree with because it sounds way too intense, but it's be in your budget every day. So Open up that spreadsheet, open up that app, open the budget every single day. And it might sound excessive, but when you're actually tracking your expenses and you only have to track 1 day's worth of expenses, it's not really that tough. And it makes it a whole lot easier to keep up with budgeting if you're in your budget every single day. Another tip that I have is you need time to actually reflect on your budget. So it's the making the budget and tracking the expenses. You need some time, probably at least once a week, where you're looking at how your spending is tracking along with your budget. And you need to evaluate how you're doing and possibly course correct. So it's not just about passively seeing how your money's spent. Throughout the month, you can course correct, you can iterate, you can allocate groceries, or you can dial back certain categories where your spending is not as high. So make sure you take that time throughout the month. I suggest weekly to be reflecting, moving on your budget and spending. The other tip for sticking with budgeting is you just have to make it a priority. Like anything you want in life, if you want to work out and get fit, you plan for it. So maybe making a budget time schedule, maybe having an alarm clock go off at a certain time, maybe setting aside, sure you plan that time, because if it's important to you, you will plan it. And in closing, just remember budgeting is not about perfection, it's about making progress every day. And it's better to do something and to have a plan rather than to have no plan at all. Remember, budgeting isn't about being perfect. It's about making progress every single day, and it's better to have a plan than to have no plan at all. If you like this video, please like or subscribe to my channel. Thank you.